Hello. Yeah. So we are here live. We're streaming at Venus, and we have Mitzi Gordon as our special guest tonight, who is the president of the St. Pete Women's Collective, right? Co-founder, one of them.
I'm one of the founders, and I help manage this wonderful art space. Yep. We're in a working art studio right now, so you see works in progress all around.
It's fun, yeah. And how many artists do you guys have here?
We have 7 in the studios, working artists, fiber arts, book artists, painter, mixed media. There's a musician. I'm a writer and I do installation work. And then we have visiting artists that come and go, not so much right now, but to do exhibitions or, public projects and things like that. So yeah, it was always created as a community space. It was always envisioned in that way. We've had to rethink how we do that, obviously, over the last year. But where we used to do more gallery events and fashion shows and that type of thing, now we have more studio space.
Gotcha.
So more of our footprint goes toward working artists who need places to create, to have their headquarters for their business and things like that. And we've discovered that there's still a real need for that. So we're so grateful to have the space here on what we lovingly refer to as the Fringe Block, the Fringe District. And we're in a really cool plaza with a lot of other locally based, longtime St. Pete businesses. Bodie Basics is a beautiful apothecary. The Central Oak Barber Co. has just been here for a while now. Yeah. And if I heard the news, Coney Island, and between us and Coney Island, this just came out today. The Black Radish Vegan Grocery is going in next door. So we're all super excited about that. It's going to be fun.
I'm sure. Yeah. Very cool. So lots of things happening in St. Pete, and lots of things happening also in the art world.
Always.
And we'll ask you more questions about that as we continue talking. But we're going to we do this every week. We do this every Wednesday. We try to do it around 6:30. Sometimes we're late, like tonight. I'm not usually our camera person, and I'm our camera person tonight. So bear with me while I try and be our tech person, because this is a little bit new to me, this side of it. So hopefully this will all come out all right, and you can see us and hear us okay.
But the wine will make it go fine.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And that does usually happen. So I have our comments up. So please do ask comments. We can see. And please also, everyone that's joining us here, please interact, ask questions along the way. So we appreciate that.
Studio audience.
Yes, exactly. Yay. Thank you for your patience. So yeah, we're going to France. We're going to Savoie in France, and we are going to I feel like I'm always going to butcher this, but Neuchâtel in Switzerland.
Neuchâtel.
It's Neuchâtel is like the cheese, right? Isn't there another thing that I looked it up and I was like, what is that thing? Yeah, Neuchâtel. Yeah, Neuchâtel, which means new castle. Yeah. Basically. So that's the translation. So here we are obviously going to be in a cooler climate, but it's not a cold climate, because they are high. These vineyards are high up. They're in the mountains. But we're talking about kind of like the Andes as far as like elevation goes. So you really could compare like the Andes to the Alps as far as
not quite.
The Andes are taller, right? Yeah. So this is about 800 to 1200 above sea level where the vineyards are. And I want to say that in the Andes, they get into the like higher than that, even like 1400, I want to say, with one of the ones that we just did for Chile. Yeah. So so these are a little bit lower than the Andes as far as elevation goes, but mostly cool climates, which then are going to be higher acid wines, more minerality. And the Alps are known for all of the herbs and the flowers and the botanicals that are planted in this area. So you're going to see a lot of that influence in a lot of the wines. Aromatics to me are kind of king and queen with these wines as well. I feel like sometimes there's more going on the nose than necessarily on the palate, because they're really going for more of a clean style as far as the presentation of the wines, because they're really going to be pairing them with cheeses that kind of need a cleaner cheese or a cleaner wine, not to compete, but to complement. So And we're gonna be tasting 3 Alpine wine or cheeses and 1 Cave from Tennessee.
A domestic Alpine.
Yeah.
But we also, what I was going to say is the climate is a little more nicer over there because of the influence from the Mediterranean on the one side, the Adriatic on the other side. So it's a lot more temperate climate than like Argentina and Chile because there's an influence from all those bodies of water that are pretty close.
Yeah, it's surrounded. There's lakes and rivers and
they're getting some
streams, brooks.
They get some warm wind from the Sahara Desert too coming up. So
exactly.
There's a lot of things that kind of mitigate the fact that it's hot. So.
Yep. Yeah. So this is Caveau Savoyard, and this is 100% Jacquard. And Jacquard is I put a little picture of the grapes so you can see all of the grapes on the back page of your notes. And as you can see, it is on the nose. It's just such a beautiful wine. And you're like smiling already. You're like, yes, this is my wheelhouse.
Love that.
Yes, I do too. And this is a 2019 vintage. The region is Savoie. So Savoie, this region has been French, and it's also been Swiss, Italian, German, Austrian, I think even at some points in time. Thank you. No cheese goes to waste on my plate. And it's just absolutely delicious. It's fermented completely in stainless steel. And I want to say that they've got 16 hectares of vines. Of the 62 hectares of vines, they own, I want to say, about 24. And then they source the rest from their neighboring vineyards. A lot of these relationships they've had for many, many generations. So it's almost as if they were theirs, they're just not managing them. And in this region, and especially with Switzerland, you're going to find that not that much gets exported to the U.S., especially with the Swiss wines. So do you want to talk about the cheese while we taste our wines?
Basically, the cheese, I pick cheese that are match to the wine based on the region they come from. The one from Tennessee is an exception, but it's very hard to find a soft cheese that is made from mountain milk, which I would, if I could get Reblochon from France, that's what I would have got. This is the closest thing to a Reblochon without the bark around it, but it's a cheese that is very much like the one they make in the Jura region, which is on the border of both Switzerland and France. So I wanted something that is actually being eaten there. It's a cheese that usually would pair with one of the white wine from there. It could also be paired with a light Pinot or something like that. I've added to your kit, I've added some honey and some cumin seeds, and those can be used with any of the cheese that we have tonight. They're all very similar in manner they're made, because they're all made from Alpage milk, which means the cows are up on the mountain and they graze, and the milk get a lot of flavor from that. And then in the winter they have some of the grass that has been cut off lower altitude that they keep as hay in the barn when you get too cold. But that gives all those cheese that grassy, earthy, kind of mushroomy, kind of nutty flavor too, and they will all go good with the honey or with the. I always like to add the cumin seed to those kind of cheese, because it cut down a little bit of the funkiness of the cheese and also bring a little bit of a crunch to it. So it's usually blend real good. So this one is, like I was saying, it's from Tennessee. It's very, very good domestic product that can rival with some of the cheese from the Jura region. And they had actually to buy a pasteurizing machine, because all the cheese that they're making in that creamery there is made from raw milk. But since the USDA won't let any soft cheese, then it's not sold within 60 days, made with raw milk. They had to use a pasteurized machine. So that's one of the reasons it's pasteurized milk and not raw milk. But that creamery does all their cheese with raw milk, and they just started to make this one in 2019, and they got it already real good. So I hope you enjoy it.
Very nice.
So nice.
I love this cheese. I love this wine. We were debating on doing another cheese that we've been carrying by Sequatchie Cove, which is the Coppinger. But we just got this one in because we're having problems getting the Saint Andre from France.
Right.
And
So nice too.
I just loved what they wrote, so I'm gonna read it. I know you guys already have the sheets, but some of the people who are participating or not participating but watching with us don't have the sheets. So I'm just gonna read what they wrote. But Walden is made by Sequatchie Cove Creamery. It's named for the southeast wall of the Sequatchie Valley in Tennessee. Walden's Ridge divides the Appalachian Plateau, and in conjunction with the Cumberland Plateau, makes up an almost perfectly straight 150-mile-long valley from Tennessee to Alabama. So that's what the cheese is named after, is this this is basically like this kind of valley, I guess, 150-mile-long valley, which is pretty cool, which I felt kind of went definitely with this wine. It goes so good with this wine.
Oh, yeah.
The wine to me, I like the apple and the stone fruit kind of like apricot that you get on the nose of it. And then it kind of has it follows through with it on the palate, in my opinion.
Creaminess of the cheese.
Yeah, it goes great with the creaminess of the cheese. Let's see. Yes, so we are hoping to get the Saint Andre back in. Jill is asking about the Saint Andre. We are going to be getting it back in.
I think they're supposed to get it in next week.
Okay, so next week. And the same thing with the Pinot that we're drinking tonight. What we have is what we have. They're out. I'm promised that they're going to be bringing more in because Broadbent is the importer and they're a large importer. So I'm hoping. However, I grabbed it when I saw that they had stock, and then they sent me the whites instead of the Pinots, and I was like, no, I need this for our class. And then my rep called me back, and he was like, they don't have any more. So I brought my bottle that I had bought for myself from home, and so that's how we have enough for the class tonight. Is luckily we have those two bottles, one for the store that I had bought,
They
just
keep a
because
lot
they
of
had
their
it in stock.
production in the area where it's produced.
They do. They don't make enough to
even in France, it's hard to find
Right.
sometimes Savoie wine,
Yep.
Wow.
and the Swiss wine in particular.
Yeah, they don't make enough for the demand for their own local demand. But also, you have people visiting all the time.
I think they stock it too because the winter season is coming, and those wine are traditional to have with fondue and raclette after you've been skiing all day.
Yeah.
So I think they kind of stock it up
Sure.
during the summer so they have it for the winter season.
Makes sense. It sort of occurred to me, not just specific to this wine, but some of these wineries are very old. And
Yes,
What did
Yes.
they do before stainless steel?
that's a good question.
Most likely concrete. I
Probably
would say.
concrete, yeah.
Oh, concrete, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
probably concrete and in cement, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Just like they used to use, they still do use the amphoras in certain parts of the world.
Mhm.
Like in Georgia, like they have the confess. I can't never say it the right way because I can't remember what it's called. It's like something with KV, and then I can't remember the name of it. But it's basically like there are these huge amphoras that are underground
Okay.
there. So I feel like they could have done the same thing there, where they're not necessarily, they're probably like dug in to the mountain, and they could have just kind of created kind of a barrel system doing it that way.
Okay.
But that's a good question.
But
And I hope that we get somebody from the winery someday so we can actually ask them that question,
Yeah.
because I'm curious.
I'm sure it's pretty much like in the Bordeaux region, which the Château, they have been there for years.
Yeah,
And most of them have a bunch of, like rows of concrete vats. And they've added some stainless steel, but that
Right.
was way later.
yeah, because
Sure.
these
Sure.
guys,
Certainly not until like the 50s or 60s, I would say.
right.
But they were using they were using a lot of concrete vats there.
I was trying to see if they wrote it on here, but I don't think that they did.
Thank
They
you.
might
So
have,
yeah,
That was interesting.
this one, so yeah, these guys, Caveau Savoyard was founded in 1853, and they're in their 7th generation of the Perrier family. So this is the Perrier of the water Perrier family.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
just so that there's no confusion, so that's who owns this
Yeah.
this winery, and it's been in their family since what did it say, 1853. So, and the next ones, the ones from Switzerland. They go back actually to, they're on their, I want to say it was like their 17th generation or something.
Gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. They've been around for, I want to say it was like it was 400 years.
Wow.
So that's going to be our next one. So, but yeah, Jacquard is a varietal that you see in some other places around the world, but not very much. It is pretty much like a French Swiss varietal, but you do see it sometimes in Australia and yeah, exactly, in New Zealand. No, I think most in Australia and in Germany also, and Italy, because they're all right there.
Yeah.
So it didn't get very far.
Good.
So whereas the next one,
Could I ask, what are some of the most common grapes in the Savoie region?
so this Jacquard, also the Château, which we're gonna do next, is also, and then they also have, let me see here, I highlighted this. They also have regular grape varietals like, let's see here, Mondouse is another one from this region. And then when you get over to Italy, you're gonna find more so Lagrange and then also Schiava. So as far as your reds though, Pinot and Gamay are king.
Okay.
That's really what it's like in Savoie, and that's pretty much it.
Sort of, yeah.
It's just
Gamay,
Gamay,
yeah.
and I don't even know if they really do Pinot Noir. I feel like there's
Switzerland, I
some.
don't know.
No, in France, in
Oh, in
Savoie.
France?
I feel like there's some. Yeah,
Most likely they do.
because the soils are very similar to Burgundy
Not
actually,
that far
because
from Burgundy.
yeah. So this area, I watched a really cool did a little YouTube history lesson of this area. And Apremont, actually, it was back in, let me see if I can find my notes. There was actually a landslide, and it was in, let me see, in 1248 on Mont Grandier. And there was a land rock slide that killed thousands of villagers and all of their livestock in that area. And with that, though, it brought down a huge bed of limestone. And so now these vineyards, that's what they're all planted in, is that limestone. So it was a terrible thing that happened, but that ended up being a good thing for agriculture later on. It just was very tragic, though. They originally said like 5,000 people and livestock were killed, and now looking back, they said, okay, well, it's more like 1,000, but that's still a lot. So, yeah, but very cool. A lot of history in this area. So now we're going to go next door, well, a little bit farther up north, get in our cars or take the train, whichever you want to do. So you hear that little pop? That's because it does have a little bit of like a to it
Oh, yeah.
on the tongue. You'll see it as well. You'll get it a little bit. And it's because they do age this on their fine leaves for about 2 months, just to kind of give it that little bit of like zippy zestiness. So, and this is 100% Chasselas. And so now we are at the Château d'Avenay,
Which you have a picture of.
which we do have a picture of it
On
on their label as well.
Is it there on the paper? I saw a picture.
This is the
No, the other
mountain.
side.
This is the chateau.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is their chateau at the top picture on your back side of your handouts. So, and I also have some more, if you guys want to pass this around. I can pass the other one around too. These are just like the little tech sheets. That's about the other wine. And then this has just more pictures of the vineyard and the chateau.
Yeah.
So you can see as well. So Yeah, so this is 100% Chasselas, and it is Chasselas is said to be from the Orient originally, but they're not very specific about where in Asia or the Orient that it's from. So it's a very clean. To me, there's more lime in this, and there's more citrus than there is the tree fruits, like the stone fruits that you had in the last one. And it does have that little bit of like zippiness and some grassiness. It kind of almost reminds me more of like a Sauvignon Blanc a little bit, you know?
So with this one, we actually, I didn't have a Swiss raclette, so we paired it with a French raclette, which is not that much different. Actually, as a note, raclette was started in Switzerland, not in France, but it's more popular in France now than it actually is in Switzerland, and mainly during the winter season. It's one of the best cheese for fondue. It's a great cheese for the tartuflette they make with potatoes and sausages. It's also good cold, but it's one of the best melting cheese. I like to, when I make fondue, I like to use raclette, and then I add usually Alps Comté or Alps Swiss with it, because that cut down a little bit of the funkiness of the raclette, and I think it stay more on the bread when you dip it in and stuff. And Kirschwasser, that's basically it. Nutmeg. Nutmeg is very good with all those cheese, by the way, particularly when they melt it. I like the cumin seed.
Fresh ground nutmeg.
Yeah, not the
powdered.
Yeah, the real stuff. Get the nut.
And shave that baby.
But so the raclette is basically a cheese that you mostly eat kind of halfway melted. In France, they will bring you little stove on and then you just put your potato or your prosciutto or whatever under the grilled bread, and then the raclette is from the little rakes, and they use to pull the cheese after they melt the outside, because you always melt it on a quarter wheel, so then you can just pour it over the grilled potato or shrimp or whatever you're eating. It's good to me, it's good with everything. So, and it's always usually paired with a nice white wine with a little, or even from the other side of the border, some of the Proseccos and Astis from there too.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like you will get raclette from France all the way to Austria. I mean, it's the whole Alpine thing. Even in the Bavarian Alps, they do that too. So it's a very, very popular cheese there. And this one is not made from the raw milk. I have a problem getting the one with the raw milk from France. I could have got a domestic one. Actually, we just got it in this afternoon. Then it's made from raw milk that comes from Vermont. But it's really hard to get some of the raw milk from Europe. Probably right now with the COVID
we're finding, and luckily, I feel like we're kind of having a artisan cheese renaissance here in the U.S. Maybe it's just my imagination, but I feel like
I don't know if it's a renaissance.
I don't know if it's a renaissance, but
it's a burst anyway.
We have greater access to better artisan cheesemakers domestically now than I've ever seen us have.
Yeah.
And even this guy says that our cheeses are getting better. And they can compete with France now. So we're finding that some of the cheeses that we can't get from France, now we're able to substitute with the domestic version of that, which is nice. Yeah, so we do that when we need to, because the US is very weird with their raw cheese rules. Like when we do the goat cheese.
It's like I know there's not as much import coming in, so
so that's another issue, is also receiving the shipments, because there is a lot of stuff just literally sitting at the docks. So not able to get on the way in, which is the most frustrating part of all.
Sure.
So it's like when your container is just sitting there and it's like, it's there, it's here, it's showing up here, but it's not here.
Right.
So yeah,
I think
that's
it brings a
fun.
little more grassiness to the wine.
That's
too.
what, yes, I agree. It does. To
Like-
me, it brought some grassiness to it. I'm gonna try it with like the cumin a little bit here
Yeah.
on the raclette too. Cause yeah, so Raymond also put cumin. I don't know if you already talked about that.
Yeah.
Would anybody else like a little?
Usually cumin or caraway seed. And I know one of the only cheese I've seen done with caraway seed in the state is Avati.
Oh, yeah,
They
sure.
do an
Right.
Avati
Yeah.
with, yeah, they do with dill and they do with, but a lot of people don't think about using spice with cheese. And this is a fun part of it.
Mhm.
I mean, we used to do some class at the Savoie store in downtown St. Pete
Mhm.
and using their spice with different cheeses and all kind of different spices. Because it's very interesting, like the Spanish cheese go real good with like smoked paprika, saffron,
sure.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it add really a lot, Espelette. So it's always kind of nice to try to play with the cheese and the spices. A lot of people don't think about it, but it's another kind of pairing, which add more to the two-dimensional
Yeah.
pairing can make three-dimensional,
Yeah.
and it's totally different.
Yes.
So yeah, never be afraid to try stuff like that.
I agree. Never be afraid to try stuff. So I'm going to jump over to the comments. Steven says that they're going to the Lavaux region of Switzerland in 2 weeks. So
cool.
awesome. We look forward to seeing your pictures. Yeah, cheers and enjoy on that. And Steven's they're really like him and his wife, I believe, or fiance. I'm not sure if they got engaged there or if they went and did their honeymoon there. And I'll ask you guys. I believe it's Michelle, it's her name. I believe though that they got engaged there, but I could be wrong. But they're going back because they fell in love with this area, and so they're the ones who kept on like asking me like, when are you guys getting Swiss wines in? When are you getting Swiss
Nice.
wines in? When are you getting Swiss wines in? So we did finally get the Swiss wines. I'm just waiting to get more of that Pinot Noir in. But yes, we do have the Swiss whites. And I also do have the Savoy, both of the Savoy wines in. The Savoy wines, I don't have an issue with an inventory yet. This one, what they have is what they have, and I want to say that I have at least 4 more bottles, if not 6, but I probably have 4 more left of this particular one of the Chasselas. So, and I'm hoping to get the Pinot Noir back in. Fingers crossed. So, but yes. Oh, they're getting married there.
Wow.
Yay! That's awesome. Yay. And you
They
just
won't
got
have-
engaged too.
they-
Yay. See, this is a day of celebrating love. I love
They
it.
won't have to go too far for the honeymoon either.
No.
They'll already be there.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's so cute. I love it.
That's great.
So now we're going to move on to our reds.
Jessica, quick question.
Yes.
There's a little bit of a hint of like reminding me of Vino Verde
Yeah,
from Portugal.
it's that spritz to it,
Yeah,
in my
yeah, When I
opinion.
first
It's
tasted
that
it, I'm like, that's the
lees
only other place
aging.
I've been where I've discovered
That has
a wine
that.
that has that.
Yep. It does.
Okay. Yeah.
It
So
totally
It's
does.
the Lees.
It's the lees aging.
It's Lees aging.
Yeah, that's what they said. That's what they're attributing it to. So,
Okay.
and this is the name of this family is it's I want to say Terry Grosjean. Now that is the one that is running it now, running at the helm, I should say. Terry Grosjean. And I can't remember the girl's name, but I watched a fantastic interview that she did with Gary Vaynerchuk of Wine Library TV, like one of his old episodes from probably about like 8 years ago or so. And they tasted this one, their Pinot, and also their Rosé, the 3 of them. And so it was fun, like watching her talk about them and just learning about the history and all of that stuff. But that's really all that they said about the spritz was just like the lees aging. She didn't get very much more specific than that.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's because like they're doing a stirring or they're not stirring it. They're just letting it sit there and rest. I don't really quite understand like how that's giving it that zippiness. So that is definitely a good, when we have a winemaker next time, good question for the winemaker, because they know so much more than I can ever learn, I feel like, because they deal with it in a different way than we do. Like we're kind of like the end user, you know? They're like the programmer writing the code so that we can use the software, you know? And enjoy it. All right. Fresh glasses. Alrighty. And so we're just gonna stay in Switzerland for this one. And so this is, again, Château de Vigny. And so this is 100% Pinot Noir. And one of the first things, in my opinion, that I noticed about it is the color is almost more of like a garnet color. Like there's a little bit of like a brownness to it, almost like a rustiness to it versus like a pink or rubiness. Yeah. So that is definitely one of the first things. And I'm going to try and show you guys on the screen, if you can, it's kind of hard to see it.
Yeah.
Through here.
Nuance.
Yeah, it's hard.
Color.
Yeah.
But it's like sometimes they put pink cherries in alcohol.
Yeah.
And the alcohol gets that
Yeah.
color when you pour it. It's got that varnish. It's kind of nice.
And this one, their white vineyard for the Chasselas is all literally surrounding the lake. So the lake Neuchâtel. And this isn't. This is going to be higher elevation. I want to say that we're going up to, let's see, 400. So we're looking about 1,200 to 1,500 feet in elevation versus over here where I think we were closer to around 800. And now we are closer to where this is 80% from the municipality of Avignon, and then also 20% from Colombier, Côte and Baudry. So the average age of the vines is 25 years old. The soil is calcareous to low middling clay content. So, yeah. And they say that they're harvested. They do a small harvest. Basically, they destem. They do little to no treading, and the grapes pass through a pre-fermentation maceration at 10 degrees Celsius, which is very cold. Normally, they do this at closer to around 14 degrees Celsius. So this is colder, a super, super cold soak, basically, for 3 to 5 days. And then they follow that up with about 10 days of fermentation between 20 and 35. So they do a huge shift in temperature variation. And then they mature this in oak tons or stainless steel tanks. I have a feeling that they kind of do a little bit of both, because what I was reading is that they do age this for a minimum of 18 months. This is a 2017 vintage. So, and I've also seen other places where it says that they do a minimum of 36 months, which I kind of don't believe that part of it. I kind of believe more so on the 18 months versus the 36, because that's a lot of oak aging for a Pinot. So I think that there's some mistranslation in the websites on that one. So I am going to go with the 18 months. And definitely a more rustic style and definitely more of an old world Pinot, in my opinion, and more Burgundian in style than you would find from like Willamette, or definitely not from California.
Structured, very structured.
Yeah.
So with this, I paired the typical, I mean, basically there's Swiss cheese in Switzerland, and there must be about, I don't know, 50 different kinds, because depending on which canton you're in, which town you're in, the all variation of Alpine milk cheese that are made from raw milk. This is made from raw milk. Those we can bring because they age more than 60 days before they export them. So those are actually made in like 15-pound wheels, basically. and they cave age for 10 months minimum, but they're not cave age for like the next cheese that we're going to do after that, which is left in cave for developing that cave mold and that cave flavor. These are basically like the Gruyere. They come every day after the cheese has formed and has formed a wine, and they wash the wine every day or every other day, turn the cheese around and do that the following day. So it doesn't develop a mold. It develop a wine just like on a Swiss cheese, basically. But the old Swiss cheese are all made from, the cows are up with their bell on, and that's why. And part of the story that they use for the name of the cheese, which is called Schellen bell, is a story about a little girl that at the end of the harvest, they have a parade where all the kids can go, and the kid who has the largest bell get to be in the front of the parade. So she wanted to do that. And then she goes up in the alpage in the spring, and then when she come back at harvest time, she has the largest bell, so she get to do that.
She comes upon this house, that in this house is a magical large bell. And so she comes proud of herself back down to the village, and they put her at the front of the parade, and she's the mascot on the label.
But
that's really cute.
But that's well, you can see her on the little label.
Yep.
That's the cheese that is made from like milk that has all that quality from all the flowers and the grass that you see up above the tree line up in Switzerland. The milk is very rich, which is why they make some very good milk chocolate too, besides cheese, and the cows are very well treated there. It's not they're not sacred like in India, but they're well taken care of. They play music in the barn and all that stuff. And I mean, the barn is clean like your own house, and you know, it's very, very, very impressive to see. So, but all their cheese have that nice. So this one I like. Try it without, and then try it with a little honey, and that will bring the fruit out on the wine too, I think, because the wine has a nice like strawberry and
cherry.
Yeah,
I get cherry.
Cherry. That's
Definitely cherry.
dark cherry.
Dark cherry, yeah.
Something so high up in the air.
And the Schellen bell is good with the cumin too.
Yeah. Well, if you try it with the cumin, you will
And the
add.
honey.
You will add some spice to the wine too.
Yep.
So.
So one of the things that they make sure to tell you about Swiss wines is that they're not inexpensive. Because they're so small, like there's such small production, and there is such a demand. So they are not like your southern France, like non-denomination kind of, non-origin, I should say, more like unclassified zones. You're not going to find that here. This is going to be probably closer to like $45 retail, I want to say, $40 to $45 retail.
Yeah, one plus everything.
The white is going to be closer to like 35 to 40, versus the other two, the Savoie, are going to be closer to around $30. Like I think that the white is 28, and I think that the Gamay is like 32 or 30. I think 32. So.
And Swiss is not known as an inexpensive country to see.
Right, yeah.
Everything is pretty high
But
priced.
I thought it was funny, like she was
Same
making
with
sure
Austria.
to let you know,
Same with Austria too.
Yeah.
It's not inexpensive there.
Mm-hmm.
Yet Gruners tend to be not terribly expensive. I mean, you can have expensive Gruners.
Yes,
But I think they have more production there too
they do.
Okay.
than they do in
Yeah.
Switzerland.
Larger.
They have a larger area
Larger.
east of
Yeah.
Austria.
Makes
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
really makes sense. Too.
Yeah. Yeah, Austria's got a lot more vineyard land
Mhm.
than Switzerland. Switzerland's probably got more ski slopes
Yeah.
than vineyards. So, and then one of the other things that they were saying on this, they did basically add, one of the things that they were talking about kind of like with the wine industry in Switzerland is they were talking about how after World War II, basically kind of like took all of their young men, they had a generational gap in winemaking. And so there, for a while, there wasn't really that much wine coming out of Switzerland or being made in Switzerland because literally they didn't have anyone to work the vineyards until they finally like had more kids. And then those kids got interested in that. But they, in that time, because of that, because they're farming these steep slopes and you don't have the young kids to go do these things, they started relying more on chemicals and fertilizers and things like this because this is an area that can get mildewy, kind of like it does here. And so they do struggle with that a lot. So they were spraying heavily back in like the 80s and in the 90s, and it wasn't until the late 90s that they started kind of coming back and saying like, all right, let's look at our wine as like an industry, because they saw how the rest of the world is just becoming a booming industry, you know? So they started taking it more serious, and they started going back to the vineyards, going back also to the cellars, and getting the new generation interested, probably by force of like, you're inheriting this, we need you here, you know? But they got them back in. They did do that, and then they also started to focus more on lower yields and also farming more organically. So they're not both of these are not certified organic. They try and be as organic as possible, and so I think that's a big important thing. But they're not necessarily certified. But that was something that I found interesting, just because I didn't know that about the area, because I was wondering like, why haven't these been on my radar before, really, you know? But that's partly why, because they just didn't really have a presence, and then they weren't exporting either, but they also didn't have great wine for a while, so nobody was demanding it either.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Once they kind of made the wine good, now there's a demand for the wine, and so now that's why we're in the crux kind of that we're in. So
Like Swiss watches, quality over quantity.
yes, exactly, exactly. Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, chocolate too.
Great. Yes. Yeah. So, but yeah, so 17 generations.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's incredible.
It is. So, and they are one of the few that can actually put the AOC of Neuchâtel on their label. So they do follow the controlled guidelines, so to speak. So, and this is 13.5 alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other two, because I forgot to tell you guys that, is 11.5 alcohol 11.9 for the Chasselas. And then the first, the Jacquer, is 11.5.
What was that one?
11.5 for the first, 11.9 for the second, and then it was, what did I say? 13.5 for the Pinot. And now we're going to move into our Gamay, if everyone's ready. And we're going to go back to Savoie. We're going to go back to Caveau, Le Caveau, Savoyard. And we're going to drink 100% Gamay. Pinot Noir's not cousin. They're not related whatsoever, but they get planted. They're kind of like the cousin that the families don't like to talk about, you know, like we're related, but we're not related, you know, like that kind of thing, where that's kind of like what they do, like in France with Burgundy and Beaujolais, you know, like they said to Beaujolais basically in Burgundy, like, no, you're not. If you don't grow Pinot Noir or Chardonnay, you grow Gamay. So you are Beaujolais. You are not part of Burgundy. So that's why I say that.
Yeah.
So this does not have the aging of the oak that the Pinot had whatsoever. This is done more of it's not done in a Beaujolais style. There's no carbonic maceration going on here. It's fermented like you would ferment any other red wine, but it does go through an élevage, which is basically what élevage is. I believe that it means like rearing, right? Like raising. Yeah, to raise.
Elevated.
So yeah, so it's basically it's a term that makes the most sense from what everyone is saying, is like there's no other way to explain it. You just use this term because it makes the most sense, you know? Because it's the easiest and kind of like the sexiest way to say it. This part of the winemaking process. But it's basically like the finishing. So where your wine is the raw fermented state has happened, the fermentation has taken place, and now you want to kind of like finish the wine before it goes into the bottle. So this goes through an extended period of that to basically kind of like finish it to get it ready to go out sooner. But they do a good job of it, in my opinion. So, and then these are 50-year-old Gamay vines, and the soils here are argilo and calcaire, and it's 1,200 foot elevation.
1,200?
1,200.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, and yeah, and stainless steel tanks for fermentation, and then 4 months of élevage before bottling.
So with this one, we have a French cheese, since we had a French wine. This is a cheese called Nectaire. They make two different versions in France. One then is the farmer's version, one is more commercial version. The farmer's version obviously is the one with the raw milk. So I have another problem to get it. So this one is the one and is made from pasteurized milk. But it goes through the same process. That cheese, the Nectaire, it's made in the center part of France, which is where all the volcano used to be in the old days. So it's a very, very grass area too, just like in the Alps. It's a volcanic stone and volcanic ground, and the grass grows real good there, and it's elevated. It's the cheese was starting around the 13th century by monk. They still have a bay there in Saint-Nectaire, which is where the cheese started. Everything that a monk ever make in Europe, you want to try. I don't care if it's cheese, liquor, beer. They really always do a real good job, and they've been doing it for a long time. So this cheese is actually aged for like 6 to 8 weeks, and it's put in caves, in cellars, because they want the cheese to develop that kind of a musty and earthy flavor from the mold from the cave. You will see on the wine, some of the wine, there's some little spot, which is sign that it's been well aged, and that add to the taste too. It's got that cellar taste to it. It's got that little bit of not mold, but that grows in when you walk in a cellar in France, you have that smell.
Musty. Yeah, that mustiness.
Mustiness.
Yeah.
But it's so creamy.
Old,
it's so
yeah.
Not old
Yeah.
smell.
The house I grew up in.
But that
Old and experienced.
You're lucky. You grew up with the wine
so
caves.
that's a cheese. Usually they tell you to pair with either like a good white wine, dry white wine, or most often with Beaujolais. Because it's a region right next to Beaujolais, basically. It's on the west side. The mountains are right on the west side of the Rhone Valley. So, and they're not, like I said, they're volcanic mountains. They're not, so they have that real good soil for the grass to grow. So it get a little bit of that stoniness sometime too to the cheese. So this is a totally French pairing this time.
Yep.
So.
That's great.
Yeah, it's very good.
It is also good with honey or with caraway too. You just add
Try
some.
next.
Really good. Cheap, seeds.
I'm a big fan of Gamay, so. And Pinot. It's fun seeing the difference between the Pinot versus the Gamay, in my opinion, of these two. Because it is like not night and day necessarily, but different kinds of red fruit.
Even in
Like you get the cherry with the Pinot, you get the strawberry and more of that like ripe fresh fruit than with the Gamay.
Yeah.
You know,
Different fruit.
like field fruit. I feel like versus mountain fruit.
This is a
Different.
perfect summer wine.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So, and we had originally chilled everything so that basically by the time we got to the reds, they still had some chill left to them.
And they do.
And
Yeah.
they do.
They're
So
perfect,
I'm
yeah.
glad that it worked out that way.
So I know that we can frequently get fairly inexpensive Gamays, French Gamays. What's the price point on something like this? I mean, is there a range of Gamay pricing? We tend to think of this as sort of being a little less costly.
There is a range of
Okay.
Gamay pricing because Gamay has become very popular with some Psalms. And so when that happens, then it becomes popular with the market.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's not necessarily an unpopular grape. Just because Burgundy doesn't like it doesn't
Right.
mean that the rest of the world doesn't like it.
Beaujolais likes it.
Beaujolais loves it, but a lot of people had a bad rep. Like Beaujolais kind of got a bad rep with the
Yeah,
with the
because of the
Beaujolais
whole-
Nouveau.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. And then that's what
Right.
people thought like, oh well, that's what Beaujolais is like.
But that's a
But
gimmick.
that's not. It is a gimmick. Well, it's a thing that they do, but it's not.
Yeah,
It-
one day a year.
It's like a
Yeah,
marketing
it's
event.
not. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's
It's a
a
marketing
market.
event.
Yeah, it's a marketing thing. You know,
Good-
like
Good for them.
we all know. Yeah, you sign up for your Georges de Beauf and you get it, and
Bottle
you know,
of Georges de
like
Beauf.
yeah.
Always a
So
pretty label.
yeah, and that's the tradition that they created. It is marketing, and it worked. So, but then it also that was the only kind of like perception that a lot of people had, or like that was their only exposure
Yeah.
to Gamay, and so then. I still have people today that will come into the store and be like, "Oh no, I don't drink Beaujolais. I don't like that fruity stuff. You know, like it's too fruity." And I'm like, "No, I'm not talking about Beaujolais like the Nouveau. I'm
Beaujolais.
talking about like these are cru
Aged, yeah,
vineyards.
aged.
Like so we do more of the cru Beaujolais, so they are going to be a little bit pricier. This is probably going to be less expensive than the cru Beaujolais that we have. Because we do have I think a Florian and Morgon as well at the loft. It is, yeah, it is. It's a pretty bottle.
It is a pretty bottle.
They actually etched,
Alps on there.
yeah, the Alps and also their Swiss emblem that says Savoie.
It's actually,
So
this is not the Swiss
it's
one.
not Swiss.
That's the Savoie
That's the
one.
Savoie emblem.
The Swiss is a little different shape.
Okay,
It's the same cross,
Yes,
but
it is. Okay.
but a different shape of the shield.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Is
Because
the-
I was wondering that too. I was like, but they're not Swiss, so why are they putting a Swiss? But he was like, well, it was though.
Oh, it was, yeah.
But I mean, it was like it's changed that.
Changed hands.
Yeah, that region. Now it's been French for a long time.
The
And I don't think it's going to change anytime soon.
no,
Let's hope not, anyways.
no, they kind of settle their borders.
But yeah, it seems like it's so.
Exciting.
Let's hope
But
it
you
stays
never
that
know.
way.
You know,
Let's hope it stays that way, just
you
for our
never
sake.
know. Look at Yugoslavia, so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
got split in little
Yeah.
pieces.
Yep.
So
Besides the cheeses, Chef, can you speak to the pairings of food that you like with these various wines that we had tonight, like this region in general? What pairs well?
What foods pair
What
well
foods
with
pair
these
well?
wines from these
with the
regions?
Gamay, with the Beaujolais, usually some nice like salami, French salami, like Rosette de Lyon, or
Okay.
also a lot of they do in that area. They have some excellent, some of the best chicken in the world.
Mm.
Called Bresse hen, and that's the region they come from. It's anyway a lot of the food, because Lyon is the capital of gastronomic of the world, I say, and they do a lot of the pâté en croûte, things like that. So that goes anything like in pastry, real nice with the Gamay, with the Beaujolais, with the Pinot Noir, pretty much I would say things more lighter thing, like maybe some pastas and things like that. Not heavy meats, because it's not going to stand to it.
Okay.
The the first white, I mean, it's nice with salad, fruits, you know, I think.
So what would you make a tartiflette out of Raclette? What would you pair with that?
Well, the tartiflette, then it's more involved because there's sausage and potatoes in it. So you would pair that with maybe the Neuchâtel,
The white?
the red. No, the red.
The Pinot?
Yeah,
Okay.
you would go to your red because it's actually like a
Because of
cooked
the
cheese.
heaviness.
The cheese is cooked and it's gonna change flavor as it bakes, and it's made with sausages, and so it's basically. And the second one is pretty much, I would say they have some excellent in Switzerland. They have excellent leg fish. That would be real nice with the Neuchâtel, I think.
Okay.
And I'm sure if you go there, they'll certainly serve you some of the gars and things like that that go in the leg. And those would be real nice. They make the gar. I think it's a gar. It's called brochet in French, but that's that cheese, that fish with a real long
With the long nose. Yeah.
And they make in that area.
It's like sturgeon?
It's like a small sturgeon
Like a small-
looking, but
right?
it's not
Yeah.
that big. And they make quenelle with it.
Okay.
And the quenelle in a nice heavy cream sauce, and that would be nice with that too.
Okay. Thank you.
So those are things that I think I would pair with that. But I mean, I'm sure there's another 100 things that you can.
Yes, if you keep talking to him, then he'll remember more things.
It's usually what I do when I
Yeah.
test wine. It's like,
Yeah.
what do I want
Yeah.
to have with this? You know, I always have to have some food to go with the wine somehow.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow, your pairings are always amazing.
It's the way I grew up, so it's like you gotta. Now, the most of those wine, I don't think you do anything real heavy. Like you would, I don't say I would do game or anything like that with those. You're too light for that. Then you go to the southern Rhone wine for that, like the Syrah.
Something with more weight.
What?
More weight.
Yeah.
More body, more tannin
Yeah.
structure.
So,
Less acid, probably, as well. Yeah, so I don't think that we have any more questions. Let me just double check. And yay.
did Jill enjoy the new cheeses?
Jill's not, she's still in Utah. That's why she's saying she misses us, and we miss them too. So yes. So
Yeah, so-
maybe we'll hopefully have the Pinot Noir when you're back in town again.
So 3 out of those 4 cheese we brought in last week. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we have them at the store
some
now.
new cheeses.
I was
It's always
trying to have some little more
And a bunch
variety
new
for the
wines.
Alps that would match, what we were drinking. So,
Yep.
yeah, we have all 3 of them. All 4 of them. The raclette we already had. It's like a standard, but the other 3 are a little bit different. So, I suggest you. And like I say, we just bought one today called Ashbrook, and it's similar to a Morbier. Which would be like a cross between a raclette and a Morbier, but it's like a Morbier as the vegetable
As the
hashes in the middle.
In the middle, yeah.
And that one comes from Vermont, not from Tennessee.
Okay.
But it's a real good cheese too.
That Vermont, the Tennessee cheese was really,
Uh-huh.
really excellent.
Oh yeah, they did a great
That's why I was
job.
like, can we please do that? We already did Coppinger last month.
Yeah, that was really,
So
really
I'm
fantastic.
glad you guys liked it too.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
really.
I love that
was
one.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's a beautiful cheese.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So next week we're going to Chile, and we have Anthony with us for our special guest. So we're going to be doing an Antinori property, I guess I should say, not product, but it is products, but also their property. They purchased Haras de Perc, and they're in Chile. I want to say Lamari is the region, but I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it's Lamari, Chile. And it's a beautiful property, and so we're going to be doing all 4 of their wines. We're going to be doing a Sauvignon Blanc, a Chardonnay, and then a red blend, and then also their Cab. So that will be next week, and that will be a lot of fun. We won't be doing cheeses and charcuterie from Chile because we don't have any. So it'll be a fun one for him where he gets to come up with fun pairings to go with the wines.
Yeah,
So
that's part of the fun
but
too.
we'll go to the New World.
This was easy.
Exactly. So
This
we'll go
is
to the New World next week, and then the following week after that, we'll go back to the Alps. But then that time, we're going to do Italy, Slovenia, and Germany. So, but there's not that much from Germany. I think it's mostly going to be Italy and Slovenia,
Okay.
but possibly Germany or Austria. We'll see what I can get my hands on. I don't have it completely set up, but I'm pretty sure that I have it mostly set up. So yeah, so we do this every week. But yeah, that's next week. So there you go. That's that one. I keep forgetting that I have these little banners to put on here now, and I keep forgetting to like put them on there. So this is where we miss Tom.
Oh, you're doing great.
So yes, me steering. So yes, so we're here. Mitzi, do you want to tell us any other things that are coming up here, or?
So Venus isn't regularly open to the public right now, but we do plan quarterly events. So, and they're largely focused outside. So we have this wonderful wide sidewalk that's visible on MLK, and of course all these lovely neighbors that I talked about. And so we've been doing activations kind of like spring, summer, winter, fall. So we just had our summer block party about a month ago. And we activated the whole block. We had a DJ and vendors, and we did open studios in here, and there was a gallery show on display from Niche Art Collective, and it was a great time. So look for another one of those to come in the fall. We haven't scheduled it yet. It's probably going to be later fall, like October. Yeah,
When the
either late
weather's nice
October
to be
or
outside.
early November. Yeah, when things get nicer. But yeah, we have a really nice kind of indoor-outdoor option here. And then we have some artists that we're talking to about doing some new gallery shows. And so by that time, we should have a whole another custom display in here. And we've just been really fortunate to work with so many creative people. And the last block party was an amazing time. We had people come up from Miami that were, you know, family and friends with some of the artists. And it was a really nice group. So
what's the best way to connect with you?
Probably on either our Facebook or our Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you use the handle Venus in Orbit, you'll find us on either one.
Okay.
And then I can do a plug for my own project because it just landed today, and it was in the Times today. If in St. Pete edition, if anyone may have seen. I'm on an artist team for a project called Spacecraft, which just landed in St. Petersburg today. Yay. We've been traveling around Pinellas County for the past year. Yep. And we just, you know, we started up in Oldsmar, and we move in county parks, and we just got into 2 city parks in St. Pete today. So Spacecraft is 2 shipping containers that have been transformed into 4 public art environments, and those environments open up twice a week at each location that they're positioned to provide free creative activities for the public. So this is all sponsored by the Board of County Commissioners of Pinellas County and created in partnership with Creative Pinellas, which is our local arts agency. So yeah, that is in Bear Creek Park and Walter Fuller Park, and offers free creative activities for all ages on the themes Make, Play, Read, and Grow 4 times a week all together. So if you look up, the handle for that is Explore Spacecraft.
Okay.
And I definitely come and visit us. It's a great amount of fun. It's something different every session. So we host visiting artists as well. It's not just our team, but we'll bring in visiting artists from the community to showcase their talents in our space. And yeah, we're really excited to be in St. Pete for this next deployment. We're in each location for 8 weeks. And then we pack everything up into the shipping container and move it on to another spot.
Wow.
So
That's awesome. Australia.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And like literally today.
Yeah, we dropped it off and I changed clothes.
Yeah,
came
and now
over
she's
here.
here.
So it's been a
Made
super
it
fun
happen.
day. And thank you guys
Yeah.
for this
Thank
beautiful
you.
soft landing. Oh my gosh.
For hosting us here.
Always the most delicious stuff from Must.
Yeah. Any more questions before we sign off? Check it over here. I'm like, let me check back on our comments. Where in St. Pete is the spaceship exhibit? Spacecraft, but yes, you just said Bear Creek.
Yeah, Bear Creek Park, which is 58th Street and First Avenue North, and Walter Fuller Park, where we're on the southwest corner, which is 80th Street and I think like 26th Avenue North.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and we'll continue to move. We have 4 other St. Pete sites identified, as well as some other sites in Mid and North County. So,
Cool. Yay.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Well, we're going to sign off and say goodnight and see you guys next week for Chile Adventure.
Cheers.
Thank you all. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yay. Let me hit end.